Welcome back to the deep dive. You guys have sent in some super interesting stuff on M&A lately, and we wanted to pick one area to kind of cut through the noise. Really get into a phase that can make or break a deal. Instead of getting lost in the weeds, we're going to focus on setting things up for success, for maximizing value.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what you sent over, this document from Doug Kahn, Dan Mondor, and Bob Barbieri at Newport Partners, that's really goal. So we're diving into phase two of the M&A process today, marketing and target identification.
Right, yeah. And the mission here, if you choose to accept it, is understanding why this phase is so important. It's not just about, checking a box and putting together some marketing stuff, right? It's about building a solid foundation to, get the best possible outcome in a deal.
Exactly. And we're going to unpack how companies put that initial marketing push together, the critical role of the CIM. That's the confidential information memorandum, which is like the heart of the information exchange. And of course, those teasers that really grab a buyer's attention. Then we'll look at how they pinpoint the right buyers and that whole strategy for reaching out. Like you said, this isn't just admin work. This is strategic, and it can really make a difference.
Okay, so let's break it down. This Newport Partners document, they start by talking about financially driven marketing materials. What exactly are we talking about here? This has to be more than just a pretty brochure, right?
Oh, for sure. It's really about telling a story, an investment story, and backing it up with rock-solid numbers. The goal is to present the company, the target company, in a way that resonates with buyers and shows them the value they could be getting.
Okay, so what are the essential parts of these financially focused materials? The document outlines a few key elements.
Right. There are a few core components. You've got the executive summary, which is essentially the elevator pitch, right? It needs to hit hard and fast, conveying the financial strength, the core advantages, and where the company stands in the market.
Makes sense. Grab their attention right out of the gate. So what comes next?
Then you move into the operational highlights. This is where you get into the nuts and bolts of the business, things like revenue streams, cost structure, any valuable IP or tech they own, how their products or services are different, how they reach their customers, their potential for growth, the efficiency of their supply chain, all those operational strengths they have.
So painting a picture of how the business actually runs. And of course, the numbers need to support all of that.
Exactly. The financial overview is where the numbers do the talking. You're looking at the historical performance here, revenue, EBITDA, cash flow trends, also highlighting those key performance indicators, the KPIs, that show the health of the business and their capital expenditure, how they invest.
And it's not just about the past, right? You need to show buyers what the future could look like.
That's where the investor narrative comes in. You need to clearly articulate what's going to drive future growth, any positive trends in the industry that the company is positioned to capitalize on, and, this is key, the specific synergies a buyer could unlock. If the industry is moving towards sustainability, how's this company positioned? Investing in green tech that a buyer could use across their portfolio. And when we talk synergies, be specific. Are we talking combining sales forces for wider reach, integrating supply chains to cut costs? Give them the concrete examples.
Right. Synergies, that's a big one in M&A. It's all about the combined value being greater than the parts.
Absolutely. And the document also stresses how important the visual presentation of this information is. It's not just having the data, it's showing it in a way that's engaging and easy to digest for potential buyers.
So charts, graphs, maybe even financial models that show what the future could hold.
Exactly. Things like data visualization, pro forma projections, those what-if scenarios showing the combined financials, taking into account synergies, integration costs, and benchmarking against competitors. All that helps buyers grasp the opportunity.
Okay, so that initial marketing package is that first impression. But then there's the CIM, the Confidential Information Memorandum, which is where things get serious, right? This is where buyers who are really interested dig in.
You got it. The CIM is where it's at. It's the deep dive for a buyer to really evaluate the business, way more detail than those initial marketing documents. Think of it like the comprehensive due diligence package, but presented up front to the right buyers.
What kind of stuff would a buyer find in a really good CIM?
Well, it starts with a full company overview history, ownership, the business segments, geographic reach. Then it gets into the market and competitive landscape, the ins and outs of the industry, the growth potential, how the company stacks up against competitors, what makes them stand out, a SWOT analysis, that's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, and then the TAM and SAM, that's the total addressable market, and the serviceable addressable market, and any big hurdles for the new competition.
Wow, so painting a complete picture of where this company fits in the big picture, and I imagine the financial stuff gets even more granular here.
For sure. The financial performance and projections section gets into the nitty-gritty. You'll see a detailed EBITDA breakdown, working capital analysis, full cash flow statements, debt overview, and projected financial models. And a lot of time they'll use sensitivity analysis,
Sensitivity analysis.
Yeah, like they look at how changes in, say, revenue growth or interest rates, how those changes could affect the projected financials. Gives buyers a sense of the best and worst case scenarios.
That's smart. Got to understand both sides of the coin. So, what else is usually covered in the CI?
Well, beyond the numbers, you'll find a section on investment merits and risk factors, basically laying out why a buyer should be interested, the value drivers of the business, but also a frank discussion of the risks. Any potential risks of the acquisition and how they're working to mitigate them. And then there's the management and organizational structure, highlighting the leadership team, how they're going to keep people after the deal, and any succession planning.
That's a ton of information. The document mentions a balance, though, between giving everything and being careful about sensitive information. That's got to be tricky.
Totally. You can actually hurt things by overloading buyers with too much data. It makes it hard to see the real value. But not giving enough makes buyers nervous. So it's about transparency to build trust without spilling the beans too early. Things like maybe staggering data release or redacting sensitive stuff in the initial stages.
Right. So before a buyer even sees the CIM, they probably get a teaser document, right? What's the point of that first look?
Yeah, the teaser. Think of it like a movie trailer, right? It's a one-page hook meant to pique interest, get those buyers curious, but still protect the seller's confidentiality. You want them wanting more, but not knowing exactly who you are just yet.
Okay, so what's usually in a teaser?
You'll generally see high-level things like projected revenue growth, EBITDA, and the company's position in the market. But, and this is key, it's all anonymous. They also spell out the investment thesis, why this company is a great buy, and highlight the potential strategic fit for certain buyers. And finally, there's a call to action, usually asking them to sign an NDA for more detailed info, like the CIM. Since it's all anonymous, what do you think is the biggest challenge in writing a teaser? Getting them to sign that NDA without giving too much away too soon.
That's a great point. You want to dangle the carrot without showing your whole hand. So once those teasers are out and the NDAs start coming back, how do sellers actually find the right buyers? It can't just be a numbers game.
No way. It's all about precision and targeting. The document talks about two main types of buyers: strategic and financial buyers.
Could you unpack those two a bit? What makes them different?
So strategic buyers are usually companies that are already operating in the same or a similar industry. What they want is synergies, things like cost savings through efficiencies, or increasing revenue by hitting new markets, maybe grabbing more market share, or vertical integration, owning more of their supply chain. Financial buyers, on the other hand, those are usually private equity firms, hedge funds, family offices. They care about the financial performance, the potential return on investment, and how to create value, maybe through operations improvements, strategic changes, or even financial engineering.
Financial engineering.
Yeah, stuff like restructuring the debt, optimizing the capital structure, or using tax advantages after the acquisition.
So strategic buyers, they're thinking big picture, how does this fit with our business, our goals? Whereas financial buyers, they're really looking at the numbers, the return on investment.
Exactly. And to find the right buyers, sellers, and their advisors, use a bunch of tools. You've got specialized M&A databases, that track past deals and what buyers are doing now. They look at comparable transactions in the industry, do a lot of sector research to pinpoint potential acquirers, and they leverage their own networks for introductions. It's all about making a targeted list of buyers whose goals and financial capabilities match what the seller wants, what they think the company is worth. You want buyers who see the value and have the money to close the deal.
Okay, so you have this carefully crafted list of potential buyers. How do you reach out to them? The document stresses being structured and discreet, which makes sense.
Right. The outreach strategy is super important. It's got to be planned out meticulously to keep everything confidential, which is huge in M&A, but also generate interest, create some competition among those buyers. They use a few different methods. One is bringing in investment banks and M&A advisors. They have those established networks and connections. Then there's direct strategic outreach, getting those executive level introductions. And increasingly, you've got digital deal platforms, those virtual data rooms, VDRs. They provide a secure way to share confidential documents.
It's like a multi-pronged approach, using connections and secure technology. So what does that outreach actually look like from start to finish?
Usually, you start by contacting the buyer, sending out that carefully crafted teaser to a select group. If they're interested, they sign an NDA. Once that's done, they get access to the CIM, the detailed information, and can start asking questions. Then there are follow-ups and a screening process. You're figuring out if they're really serious, if they have the money, and why they want to buy. For the most promising buyers, those who fit strategically and have the cash, you move to management presentations, maybe even site visits. That's where they get a really deep look at the business and interact with the leadership team.
So it's like a funnel, starting broad and narrowing down to the most serious contenders. Looking at this whole marketing and target identification phase, how does it ultimately help the seller get the most value?
So doing phase 2 right, it really maximizes value in a few ways. First, having compelling marketing materials and a thorough CIM, that attracts more buyers and better buyers, which can lead to higher valuations because they're competing. Second, targeting the right buyers means you're more likely to find someone who sees the value and can actually close the deal. And finally, having a structured and efficient process, from outreach to screening, it shortens the timeline and reduces the chance of deal fatigue, which can sometimes drag down the final price.
So it's about building demand, hitting the right audience, and running a tight ship to get the best price and a smooth transaction. The Newport Partners document highlights their specific approach. What's their philosophy here?
They see this phase as way more than just a preliminary step. They see it as like this pivotal point that sets the tone for the whole M&A deal. They're big on being realistic, assessing the business honestly, and looking at the market conditions from the get-go. They work hand in hand with everyone involved, sponsors, board members, management, to get everyone on the same page.
And what about their specific methods? What are the key parts of their approach?
They're all about quality. Top-notch marketing materials, a CIM that answers all the tough questions before they're even asked, really nailing down the target buyer list, and a discreet but proactive outreach strategy. They believe that a well-managed timeline in this phase leads to better valuations for their clients, smoother negotiations, and a much higher chance of closing the deal, which is what it's all about, maximizing value for the shareholders.
They also do more than just M&A, right? What other areas do they work in?
Yeah, they're also big into business transformation and performance improvement consulting. They offer a whole suite of services aimed at helping companies run better, make more money, and increase shareholder value. They specialize in AI deployment, crisis management, and strategic assessments. They work with companies to develop these custom roadmaps to improve their financial and operational performance. And they're with them every step of the way. They've got a solid track record of helping companies, both public and private, achieve sustainable growth and stay competitive.
And the firm itself was founded by some pretty experienced folks, right?
Oh, yeah. Dan Mondor, Robert Barbieri, and Doug Kahn, they started Newport Partners. All of them have a ton of experience leading Fortune 500 companies, NASDAQ listed companies, and private companies.
So if someone's listening and they want to learn more or get in touch, how do they do that?
The document says they can visit their website, www.newportpartnersgroup.com. It's got more info about their services, and they can even schedule a free consultation.
Awesome. So it's pretty clear that this marketing target identification phase, it's not just a box to check. It's the foundation of the whole M&A process, and doing it right is crucial for the seller.
Couldn't agree more. It's about setting yourself up for success from the very beginning.
Thinking about all the steps we've talked about today, creating those marketing materials, targeting buyers, everything, what do you think is the biggest challenge or the most important thing for a seller to get right? How do all the financial details, the strategic positioning, and even the human factors, how do those all come together?
That's a great question. It really gets you thinking about all the moving parts that have to work together.
It really is. So hopefully this deep dive has given you a better understanding of this critical part of M&A. There's always more to learn, but we hope this gives you some good insights into what it takes to set up a successful deal.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here.